Jake Morrison stared at the screen in front of him. The numbers did not make sense. His ship, the HSS Defiant, had been flying toward the edge of the solar system for 3 hours. But something was wrong. Very wrong. "Captain, we have a problem," said his co-pilot, Ryan Scott. The young man's voice shook as he spoke. "The sensors are picking up something huge ahead of us." Jake looked at the radar. A massive wall of energy stretched across space. It was like a giant invisible fence that surrounded their entire solar system. The wall glowed with a strange blue light that hurt to look at. "What is that thing?" asked Lisa Brooks, the ship's science officer. She had never seen anything like it in all her years of space travel. Jake pressed the communication button. "Earth. Control. This is Captain Morrison on the HSS Defiant. We are seeing some kind of barrier around the solar system. Please advise." The radio crackled with static. Then a voice came through. It was Captain Lisa Kane from Earth Defense Command. "Defiant, we see it too. Every ship in the outer system has reported the same thing. The barrier appeared about an hour ago." Jake felt his stomach drop. If there was a barrier around the entire solar system, that meant they were trapped. No ships could get in or out. Earth had colonies on dozens of planets beyond the solar system. Millions of humans lived out there among the stars. "Captain Morrison," came another voice over the radio. This one was different. It did not sound human. The words were clear, but the tone was cold and strange. "This is the Cathari Coalition fleet. Your species has been placed under quarantine." Jake's hands gripped the controls tighter. The Cathari were an alien race that controlled a large part of the galaxy. Humans had met them only a few times, and the meetings had not gone well. The aliens thought humans were too violent and unpredictable. "Why? Have you trapped us?" Jake asked into the radio. "Your species has proven itself too dangerous for galactic society," the alien voice replied. "You expand too quickly. You fight too much. You cannot be trusted to exist freely among civilized races. The quarantine will remain in place indefinitely." Ryan Scott looked at his captain with wide eyes. "Sir, what does that mean?" Jake knew exactly what it meant. Earth was cut off from the rest of human space. The colonies beyond the solar system were on their own, and Earth itself would slowly run out of resources without trade from other worlds. "Lisa, run a scan on that barrier," Jake ordered. "I want to know everything about it." Lisa Brooks worked at her station for several minutes. The results made her face go pale. "Captain, the barrier is some kind of energy field. It extends in all directions around the solar system. Any ship that tries to pass through it will be destroyed instantly." Jake made a decision. "Set course for the barrier. I want to test it." "Sir, that could be suicide," Ryan said. "We need to know for sure," Jake replied. "Take us in slowly." The HSS Defiant moved toward the glowing wall of energy. As they got closer, the ship's alarms began to sound. The temperature inside the ship started to rise. The metal hull began to shake. "Captain, we need to turn back now," Lisa shouted over the noise. Jake pulled the ship away from the barrier just in time. Behind them, they could see the space where they had been glowing white-hot. If they had stayed there even a few seconds longer, the ship would have been melted into nothing. "Earth Control, this is Morrison," Jake said into the radio. "The barrier is real. Nothing can get through it. We are completely cut off." Back on Earth, Captain Lisa Kane sat in the command center deep underground. Around her, dozens of officers worked at computer stations. Everyone looked worried. The news was spreading quickly across Earth. Humanity was trapped in its own solar system. Get me President Cole on the line, Lisa ordered. He needs to know about this immediately. While she waited for the call to connect, Lisa thought about what this meant. Earth imported food from agricultural worlds. They got rare metals from mining colonies. Most importantly, they relied on the outer colonies for energy crystals that powered their cities. Without those resources, Earth would face serious problems within months. Food would run out. Power would fail. Millions of people would die. The communication screen lit up with the face of President Martin Cole. He was an older man with gray hair and tired eyes. The weight of leading humanity showed on his face. Captain Kane, what is the situation? The president asked. Sir, we are completely blockaded. The aliens have surrounded our entire solar system with some kind of energy barrier. No ships can get in or out. Our colonies beyond the system are cut off from us. President Cole was quiet for a long moment. Lisa could see him thinking through all the problems this would cause. How long can Earth survive on its own? He asked. Lisa had already been calculating the numbers. With rationing, maybe 6 months for food. Our energy reserves will last about 4 months. After that, we start losing power to major cities. And our military options? Sir, we have maybe 100 ships in the inner solar system. The alien fleet out there numbers in the thousands. They have technology we have never seen before. A direct fight would be hopeless. President Cole nodded slowly. Captain, I want you to call an emergency meeting of the Global Defense Council. Get our best scientists and military leaders together. We need options. Yes, sir. What should I tell the people? For now, tell them nothing. We need time to figure out how to handle this. If people panic, it will only make things worse. The call ended, and Lisa Kane looked around the command center. Everyone was watching her, waiting for orders. These were good people who had dedicated their lives to protecting humanity. But right now, she had no idea how to protect anyone. Outside, the stars still shone in the black sky. But for the first time in human history, those stars were out of reach. Earth was alone, surrounded by enemies, with no way to escape. The HSS Defiant continued its patrol near the barrier. Jake Morrison watched the energy wall that had become humanity's prison. He thought about his daughter back on Earth and his brother who lived on a colony world light years away. They might never see each other again. But Jake Morrison was a fighter. So was the rest of humanity. The aliens might have trapped them, but humans had survived worse things before. Somehow they would find a way out of this. They had to. 3 months had passed since the Cathari put their energy wall around Earth's solar system. President Martin Cole sat at the head of a long table in the emergency bunker beneath Washington. Around the table sat the most important people in what remained of free humanity. Food riots had started in major cities. The energy crystals that powered Earth's fusion reactors were running low. People were scared and angry. Every day, more protesters gathered outside government buildings demanding answers. Give me the numbers, President Cole said to Dr. Amy Foster. She was the head of Earth's Advanced Weapons Research Division. A small woman with short brown hair, she looked tired but determined. Food supplies will be gone in 2 months, Doctor, Foster said. Energy reserves may be 3 weeks after that. We have tried everything to break through the barrier. Nuclear weapons, particle beams, everything. Nothing works. General Rick Hayes slammed his fist on the table. He was a large man with a gray beard who had fought in 3 wars. We should be building an attack fleet. Hit those alien ships with everything we have. Admiral Ben Clark shook his head. General, we have run the simulations. They have over 2,000 ships out there. We have less than 100. Our weapons cannot even scratch their hull armor. So we just give up? General Hayes asked. President Cole looked around the table at the faces of Earth's leaders. Scientists, generals, politicians, all of them looked defeated, all except Dr. Foster. Amy, you have been quiet, the president said. What are you thinking? Dr. Foster took a deep breath. There is something I need to tell all of you, something that has been classified at the highest levels for the past 5 years. Everyone in the room sat up straighter. Top secret projects were not discussed lightly. 5 years ago, we found something on Mars, Dr. Foster continued. During the mining operation in the Valles Marineris Canyon, our teams discovered a chamber buried deep underground. Inside that chamber were artifacts. Alien artifacts. Admiral Clark leaned forward. What kind of artifacts? The objects appeared to be some kind of technology, but not like anything we had ever seen. They seemed to respond to human presence. When our scientists got close to them, the artifacts would glow and emit harmonic frequencies. General Hayes looked confused. What does this have to do with our current situation? Dr. Foster pulled out a tablet and showed them pictures. Strange. Metallic objects that seemed to shift and change shape even in the photographs. We have been studying these artifacts for 5 years. We think they were left by another alien race, a race that existed long before the Cathari. What did you learn? President Cole asked. The artifacts contain some kind of genetic programming. When humans are exposed to the harmonic frequencies they emit, it activates dormant sequences in our DNA. Sequences that have been there all along but switched off. The room was completely silent. Dr. Foster continued her explanation. We tested this on volunteers. The results were extraordinary. Enhanced reflexes, increased intelligence, the ability to interface directly with technology using only thought. But there were risks. Some subjects suffered severe brain damage. Others died. Admiral Clark stood up from his chair. You experimented on human beings without telling anyone? We told the people who needed to know, Dr. Foster replied. This research was conducted under Presidential Authority 7. Everything was legal. President Cole remembered signing those orders years ago. At the time, it had seemed like basic scientific research. What are you suggesting, Amy? The artifacts on Mars are not just technology, they are a test and a gift. I believe another alien race faced the same situation we face now. They were oppressed by the galactic powers, so they hid these artifacts, waiting for a species that was worthy. General Hayes shook his head. This sounds like science fiction. General, 3 months ago you would have said that energy barriers around solar systems were science fiction too, Dr. Foster replied. President Cole thought about what she was saying. Amy, how many successful test subjects did you have? 12 out of 43 volunteers. The others either died or suffered permanent damage, but the 12 who succeeded became something more than human. Where are they now? 3 of them are still at the research facility. The others are integrated into various military and scientific positions. They appear completely normal to outside observation, but their capabilities are far beyond baseline human. Admiral Clark sat back down. What exactly are you proposing? Dr. Foster looked around the table. Project ZEUS. We activate the master program hidden in the Mars artifacts. We enhance as many humans as possible, and we use our new abilities to break free from this prison. The room erupted in argument. General Hayes shouted about the dangers of unproven technology. Admiral Clark worried about the ethics of human experimentation. Other council members voiced their own concerns. President Cole raised his hand for silence. Amy, what is the survival rate now that you have 5 years of experience? With the improved procedures, about 60%. But, sir, we would not be forcing anyone. This would be completely voluntary. And you think enhanced humans could defeat the Cathari? Dr. Foster nodded. The artifacts contain technical specifications for technologies beyond anything the Cathari possess. But they can only be operated by enhanced humans. It is as if they were designed specifically for us. General Hayes crossed his arms. And if this fails? If we kill thousands of people for nothing? General, if we do nothing, everyone on Earth dies anyway, Dr. Foster said quietly. The blockade will not be lifted. The Cathari have made that clear. This is our only chance. President Cole was quiet for a long time. Outside the bunker, he could hear the distant sound of protesters shouting. Earth was dying slowly. His people were losing hope. How long would it take to implement this project? He asked. The facilities are already built. The artifacts are ready. We could begin enhancement procedures within a week. Full implementation. Across Earth would take about 2 months. Admiral Clark leaned back in his chair. 2 months to create an army of enhanced humans. Not an army, Dr. Foster corrected. A new kind of human. One capable of standing against galactic oppression. President Cole looked around the table one more time. Every face showed fear mixed with desperate hope. The choice was simple. They could die slowly as prisoners, or they could risk everything for freedom. Dr. Foster, you have authorization to begin Project ZEUS immediately. General Hayes, you will provide military support. Admiral Clark, prepare our naval forces for eventual action. General Hayes shook his head. Sir, I still think this is insane. General, 3 months ago I would have agreed with you. But desperate times require desperate measures. As the meeting ended, Dr. Foster gathered her materials. Soon she would return to the hidden laboratories where humanity's future waited in the form of alien artifacts. The next few weeks would determine whether humans remained slaves or became something greater. Outside, the Cathari ships continued their patrol. They believed they had contained the human threat, but they had no idea what was about to be unleashed. Dr. Amy Foster stood in the underground laboratory complex beneath the Colorado mountains. The facility had been built in secret over the past 5 years. Long white corridors connected dozens of research rooms filled with equipment that most people could not even imagine. In the center of the complex sat the Mars chamber. This was where the alien artifacts were kept. The room was circular, with smooth walls that seemed to absorb light. In the middle of the room, 12 strange objects floated in the air without any visible support. The artifacts looked like they were made of liquid metal that had been frozen in time. They constantly shifted and changed shape, but always returned to their original form. When humans came near them, they glowed with a soft blue light and made sounds like singing crystals. Paul, are the enhancement chambers ready? Dr. Foster asked her assistant, Dr. Paul Grant. He was a young scientist who had worked with the artifacts longer than anyone else. All 12 chambers are online, Paul replied. We have learned a lot from the previous test subjects. The new process should be much safer. Kate Moore, the chief engineer, looked up from her computer screen. Amy, we have over 3,000 volunteers waiting outside. Word about Project ZEUS has spread through the military. Everyone wants to help. Dr. Foster felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. Each person who entered the enhancement chambers was risking their life. But without taking this risk, all of humanity would die anyway. "Bring in the first group," she said. The first volunteer was Sam Turner, a space fighter pilot who had been flying patrol missions near the barrier. He was 28 years old with short black hair and steady hands. His file showed he had the best reflexes and coordination scores in the entire fleet. "Are you sure about this, Sam?" Dr. Foster asked as he lay down in the enhancement chamber. The chamber looked like a medical bed surrounded by strange machinery connected to the alien artifacts. "Doctor, my brother lives on a colony world outside." "The barrier," Sam said. "If this gives us a chance to save him and everyone else, then yes, I am sure." Dr. Foster nodded to Paul Grant. He activated the artifacts using a control system they had developed over years of study. The 12 objects began to glow brighter and emit their harmonic frequencies. The sound filled the chamber like the singing of angels. Sam Turner's body began to glow with the same blue light as the artifacts. His vital signs on the monitoring equipment went wild. Heart rate spiking, brain activity off the charts. "His DNA is changing," Kate Moore reported from her station. "The dormant sequences are activating just like in the simulations." For 20 minutes, Sam Turner lay in the enhancement chamber while alien technology rewrote his genetic code. Dr. Foster watched the monitors carefully. This was the dangerous part. If something went wrong, they would have only seconds to stop the process. Finally, the light faded. The artifacts returned to their normal glow. Sam Turner opened his eyes and sat up slowly. "How do you feel?" Dr. Foster asked. Sam looked around the room with an expression of wonder. "Everything is so clear. I can see the electromagnetic fields from all the equipment. I can hear the quantum fluctuations in the artifacts." He stood up from the chamber and walked over to a computer terminal. Without touching the keyboard, the screen lit up and began displaying information. "Sam, what are you doing?" Paul Grant asked. "I am interfacing with the computer system," Sam replied. "I can feel the data flowing through the circuits. It is like the machine is part of my body now." Dr. Foster smiled. The enhancement had worked perfectly. Sam Turner had become something more than human. Over the next 2 weeks, they processed hundreds of volunteers. Most of the enhancements were successful, but not all. Danny Walsh, a Marine from Texas, suffered severe brain damage when his body rejected the genetic changes. He survived, but he would never be the same. Sarah Price, a communications officer, had a different reaction. The enhancement worked, but her new abilities were too strong. She could hear radio signals from across the planet. The constant noise in her head drove her to madness before they could help her. But for every failure, there were 3 successes. The enhanced humans showed abilities that seemed impossible. They could think faster than any computer. They could interface with technology using only their minds. Some could even manipulate electromagnetic fields with their thoughts. Colonel Alex Stone was one of the most successful subjects. He was a career military officer with 20 years of experience. After enhancement, he could process tactical information faster than an entire command staff. His reflexes became so quick that he could dodge bullets. "Alex, I want you to form a special unit," Dr. Foster told him. "Take the best of the enhanced soldiers and prepare them for combat operations." "What kind of operations?" Colonel Stone asked. "We are going to break the blockade. But first, we need to understand Cathari technology better." Nina Bell had been an astronaut before enhancement. Afterward, she could pilot spacecraft using direct mental control. When she sat in a ship's pilot seat, She became one with the machine. The ship responded to her thoughts as if it were part of her body. Chris Davis was an engineer who had designed spacecraft engines. After enhancement, he could redesign those engines in his head and see exactly how to make them better. He began creating new technologies that combined human engineering with principles learned from the alien artifacts. "Amy, you need to see this," Chris called out one day from his workshop. He had been working on something for weeks without telling anyone what it was. Dr. Foster found him standing next to what looked like a normal plasma cannon, but when she looked closer, she could see that the internal components were completely different. "This weapon is based on specifications I found in the artifact data," Chris explained. "But it can only be fired by an enhanced human. The targeting system requires a direct neural interface." He picked up the weapon and aimed it at a target across the room. Without using any visible controls, the cannon fired a beam of energy that completely vaporized the target. "The power source draws energy directly from local electromagnetic fields," Chris continued. "An enhanced human can channel ambient energy and focus it through the weapon. We never run out of ammunition." Dr. Foster stared at the weapon in amazement. This was technology far beyond anything Earth had ever produced, and it was only the beginning. Word of Project ZEUS began to spread through Earth's population. At first, people were afraid. The idea of changing human DNA seemed dangerous and wrong. But as more enhanced humans appeared and demonstrated their abilities, fear turned to hope. Volunteers came from every nation and every profession. Teachers, doctors, farmers, artists. All of them wanted the chance to help save humanity from the alien blockade. Some religious groups protested that humanity was trying to play God. They held rallies and demanded that Project ZEUS be stopped. But most people supported the program when they realized it was their only chance for survival. The enhanced humans began working together in ways that normal people could not understand. They could share thoughts and coordinate their actions perfectly. When a team of enhanced engineers worked on a problem, they functioned like a single super-intelligent organism. Dr. Foster watched all of this from her laboratory and felt both pride and worry. They were creating something wonderful and terrible at the same time. Enhanced humans were still human, but they were also something new. "Paul, how many successful enhancements do we have now?" she asked. "Over 8,000 across all facilities," he replied. "The success rate has improved to 70% with the new procedures." "And how are they integrating with normal humans?" Paul looked uncomfortable. "There have been some problems. Enhanced humans think and react so much faster than normal people. They are starting to form their own communities." Dr. Foster nodded. She had expected this. When you create a new kind of human, they will naturally gravitate toward others like themselves. But that was a problem for later. Right now, they had a war to win. Colonel Alex Stone stood in the briefing room looking at his new soldiers. These were not ordinary men and women anymore. Each one had been through the enhancement process and survived. Their eyes held an intelligence that seemed almost alien, but their hearts were still human. "Listen up," Colonel Stone said to the group. "We are no longer just fighting for Earth. We are fighting for the future of our species." The enhanced soldiers sat perfectly still, processing information faster than any normal human could think. Among them was Nina Bell, the former astronaut, who could now fly ships with her mind. Next to her sat Chris Davis, the engineer who had been creating impossible weapons in his workshop. "Sir, what are our orders?" asked Sergeant Tony Pierce. He had been a regular soldier before enhancement. Now he could calculate bullet trajectories in his head and react to threats before they even appeared. "Our first mission is reconnaissance," Colonel Stone replied. "We need to capture Cathari technology and study it. The artifacts have given us new abilities, but we still need to understand our enemy." Dr. Foster entered the briefing room carrying a tablet computer. "I have new information from the Mars artifacts," she announced. "The data cores have revealed more about the race that left them behind." She activated a holographic display that showed images decoded from the artifact memory banks. The images showed a galaxy filled with different alien species, but all of them looked afraid and oppressed. "This is what the galaxy looked like millions of years ago," Dr. Foster explained. "The race that left the artifacts was called the Builders. They were explorers and scientists who traveled from world to world, helping other species develop. The hologram changed to show massive ships and floating cities. The Builder civilization looked peaceful and advanced beyond imagination." "What happened to them?" Nina Bell asked. "They were destroyed by the same coalition that is oppressing us now," Dr. Foster replied. "The Cathari and their allies have been controlling the galaxy for millions of years. Any species that grows too powerful or too independent is either enslaved or eliminated." Chris Davis studied the holographic displays. "These ships, the technology is incredible. Are there specifications in the artifacts?" "Yes, but they can only be built and operated by enhanced humans. The Builders designed their technology to work with species that had undergone genetic enhancement similar to what we have done." Colonel Stone understood what this meant. The Builders knew this would happen again. They left the artifacts as a weapon for future species to use against the galactic powers. "Exactly," Dr. Foster confirmed. "But we need to prove ourselves worthy. The artifacts will only reveal their full secrets to a species that can demonstrate courage and unity." Over the following weeks, the enhanced humans began testing their new abilities in combat simulations. They found that they could work together in ways that normal soldiers could not. Their minds could link temporarily, sharing information and coordinating actions with perfect precision. Luke Carter was one of the most gifted enhanced soldiers. He had been a Special Forces operator before the enhancement. Afterward, he could infiltrate enemy positions by manipulating electromagnetic fields to become nearly invisible to sensors. "Luke, I have a special mission for you," Colonel Stone said during a private meeting. "The Cathari are sending probe ships through the barrier to monitor Earth. I want you to capture one intact." "How many team members do I get?" Luke asked. "Take Megan Ross and Tony Pierce. The three of you should be enough." Megan Ross had been a computer programmer before enhancement. Now she could hack into any electronic system by touching it. Pierce could predict enemy movements by analyzing thousands of variables in real time. The three enhanced soldiers prepared for their mission using equipment that Chris Davis had designed. Their suits were made from materials that could shift, properties based on mental commands. Their weapons could fire different types of energy based on what the situation required. "Remember, we need that probe ship in working condition," Luke told his team as they boarded their modified spacecraft. "The information it contains could give us the key to breaking the blockade." The ship they flew was unlike anything Earth had ever built before. Enhanced engineers had redesigned it using principles learned from the artifacts. The hull could adapt to different threats. The engines could manipulate space-time to achieve incredible speeds. As they approached the area where Cathari probes had been detected, Megan Ross interfaced with the ship's sensors. "I have contact. One probe ship, heavily shielded, about 10 kilometers ahead." "Can you hack their systems?" Luke asked. "Not from this distance. I need to get within physical contact range. Tony Pierce calculated their approach vector. The probe will detect us in 30 seconds unless we mask our energy signature. Luke concentrated on the ship's adaptive hull. Using his enhanced abilities, he changed the hull properties to absorb and redirect electromagnetic energy. To the Cathari sensors, their ship would appear to be empty space. They drifted closer to the alien probe. It was a sleek silver ship about the size of a fighter craft. Strange symbols covered its hull, and energy fields shimmered around its engines. "I am reading massive data transmissions," Megan reported. "This ship is sending detailed reports about Earth back to the main fleet." "Not anymore," Luke said. He extended the ship's capture arms and grabbed the Cathari probe. Immediately, alarms began sounding in the alien ship. Megan Ross placed her hand on the hull contact point. Through her enhanced nervous system, she sent electronic pulses into the alien ship's computer systems. For several minutes, she fought a digital battle against Cathari security programs. "Got it," she announced. "All systems are under our control." They towed the captured probe back to a secret facility on the far side of the moon. Enhanced scientists and engineers swarmed over the alien technology, learning everything they could about their enemy. What they discovered changed everything. "The Cathari are not as advanced as we thought," Chris Davis reported to Colonel Stone and Dr. Foster. "Most of their technology is stolen from other species. They are really just pirates and bullies with good weapons." "What about their energy barrier?" Dr. Foster asked. "It relies on quantum resonance anchors positioned throughout the solar system. The barrier is powerful, but it has a weakness. If we can destroy all the anchors simultaneously, the entire barrier will collapse." Colonel Stone studied the technical data. "How many anchors are there?" 12. "Each one is heavily defended, but if we hit them all at the same time, they will not have time to adapt their defenses." Dr. Foster looked at the star charts showing the anchor positions. "We would need perfect coordination. One team failing could doom the entire operation." "That is where our enhanced abilities give us an advantage," Colonel Stone replied. "We can link our minds across vast distances. 12 separate teams could act as one unified force." The plan began to take shape. Enhanced humans would pilot new ships designed with artifact technology. They would strike all 12 quantum anchors at exactly the same moment. But the mission would be incredibly dangerous. The Cathari had thousands of ships guarding the barrier. "There is something else," Chris Davis said quietly. "I found additional data in the probe's memory banks. The Cathari are planning something called a final solution for Earth." "What does that mean?" Dr. Foster asked. Chris looked grim. "If they detect any sign of resistance from Earth, they plan to use a planet-killer weapon. They will destroy Earth completely rather than let humans escape the quarantine." The room fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. They had one chance to break free. If they failed, every human being on Earth would die, but the enhanced humans were no longer ordinary people facing an impossible challenge. They had been transformed by ancient technology left by a race that had faced the same oppression. The builders had given them the tools they needed. Now they just had to find the courage to use them. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his newly upgraded ship. The HSS Defiant no longer looked like the vessel he had commanded months ago. Enhanced engineers had rebuilt it using technology learned from the captured Cathari probe and the Mars artifacts. The ship's hull could now change its properties based on threats. The engines could bend space around them for incredible speed. Most importantly, the ship could be controlled directly by Jake's enhanced mind rather than manual controls. "Jake, are you ready for this?" asked Dr. Foster over the communication system. She was coordinating the mission from the command center on Earth. Jake looked around his bridge crew. Ryan Scott, his co-pilot, had volunteered for enhancement after seeing what the process could do. Lisa Brooks, the science officer, could now interface with any computer system in the solar system. "We are ready," Jake replied. "All teams report. Status." Around the solar system, 11 other ships were preparing for the same mission. Each ship carried a team of enhanced humans tasked with destroying one of the quantum resonance anchors that maintained the Cathari barrier. "Team 2 ready," came the voice of Nina Bell. She was piloting a ship toward the anchor near Jupiter. Her co-pilot was Tony Pierce, and their engineer was Megan Ross. "Team 3 ready," reported Chris Davis. His team was heading for the anchor, positioned near Saturn. One by one, all 12 teams confirmed they were in position. Colonel Stone was coordinating the overall operation from his command ship. His enhanced mind could process updates from all teams simultaneously and adjust the plan in real time. "Remember, we have to hit all targets at exactly the same moment," Colonel Stone broadcast to all teams. "If even one anchor survives, the barrier will adapt and become stronger." Jake checked his ship's new weapon systems. They were unlike anything Earth had ever built. The main cannon could fire concentrated beams of energy that would punch through any known armor. The secondary weapons could disrupt enemy shields and electronics. But the most important weapon was not on the ship. It was inside Jake's enhanced mind. He could now think and react faster than any computer. He could predict enemy movements and coordinate with his team without speaking. "All teams, begin approach," Colonel Stone ordered. The 12 ships moved toward their targets. Jake's team was responsible for the anchor near Mars. As they got closer, Cathari patrol ships began to detect them. "Contact," Lisa Brooks announced. 6 enemy fighters approaching our position." Jake did not need to touch any controls. He reached out with his mind and connected with the ship's systems. The Defiant responded to his thoughts like an extension of his body. The Cathari fighters opened fire with plasma weapons. Jake twisted the ship through space, dodging the energy beams with movements that would have been impossible for a normal pilot. At the same time, he returned fire with the ship's new weapons. The enhanced weapon systems were devastating. Jake's first shot completely destroyed 1 enemy fighter. His second shot disabled 2 more. The remaining Cathari ships retreated, but they had already sent an alarm to the main fleet. "All teams, we have been detected," Colonel Stone announced. "Cathari, reinforcements are moving to all anchor positions. We need to accelerate the timeline." Jake pushed his ship harder toward the quantum anchor. The device was massive, about the size of a space station. It floated in space, surrounded by energy fields that connected it to the barrier around the solar system. "Jake, I am reading the anchor's defensive systems," Lisa Brooks reported. "Shield generators, automated weapon platforms, and some kind of self-destruct mechanism." "Can you disable the self-destruct?" Jake asked. "I am trying, but the Cathari use quantum encryption. It will take time to break through." Behind them, more enemy ships were approaching. Jake could see them on his enhanced awareness. Dozens of Cathari fighters and several larger warships were converging on their position. "Team 7 is under heavy attack," came a voice over the communication system. "We are taking damage, but still proceeding to target." "Team 4 has lost engines," reported another team. "We are drifting toward the anchor but cannot maneuver." Jake realized that some teams might not succeed. The mission required perfect coordination. If any anchor survived, the entire operation would fail. "Lisa, how long until you can break their encryption?" Jake asked. "At least 10 minutes," she replied. We do not have 10 minutes. Jake made a decision that went against all his training. Instead of trying to disable the anchor safely, he would have to destroy it with brute force, even if it meant destroying his own ship in the process. Ryan, Lisa, prepare for emergency evacuation, Jake ordered. Sir, what are you planning? Ryan Scott asked. I am going to ram the anchor at full speed. The impact should destroy both the anchor and our ship. Jake, there has to be another way, Lisa protested. But Jake had already made up his mind. He accelerated the ship directly toward the quantum anchor. The Cathari defensive systems opened fire, but Jake's enhanced reflexes allowed him to dodge most of the incoming shots. Just as they were about to impact, Lisa Brooks succeeded in breaking the quantum encryption. Got it. I have control of the anchor systems. Instead of ramming the device, Jake pulled the ship away at the last second. Lisa used her connection to the anchor's computers to shut down all its defensive systems and begin an overload sequence. Anchor 1 is ready for destruction, Jake reported to Colonel Stone. Around the solar system, the other teams were facing similar challenges. Some had succeeded in reaching their targets. Others were still fighting through heavy enemy resistance. Team 5 is down, came a grim report. Luke Carter's ship was destroyed, but they managed to damage their anchor. Jake felt a moment of sadness for his fellow enhanced humans who had given their lives for the mission. But there was no time for mourning. The operation had to continue. Team 12 reporting, said Nina Bell's voice. We have reached our anchor, but it is more heavily defended than expected. We need support. Colonel Stone made rapid calculations in his enhanced mind. Team 6, divert to assist Team 12. All other teams prepare for synchronized detonation. Jake watched his tactical display as the situation developed across the solar system. Some teams had succeeded completely. Others had partially damaged their targets. A few had been destroyed by enemy fire. But the most important thing was that every anchor had been reached. Even the damaged ones could be destroyed if all teams acted at exactly the same moment. All teams, final countdown, Colonel Stone announced. Detonation in 10 seconds. Jake prepared to trigger the overload sequence that Lisa had programmed into their anchor. Around the solar system, 11 other teams were doing the same thing. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Execute. 12 quantum resonance anchors exploded simultaneously across the solar system. The energy releases were visible from Earth as brilliant flashes of light against the darkness of space. For a moment, nothing seemed to change. The barrier around the solar system still glowed with its blue energy. Then suddenly, cracks began to appear in the energy wall. It is working, Dr. Foster announced from Earth. The barrier is collapsing. The massive energy wall that had trapped humanity for months began to fall apart. Huge sections simply vanished, leaving clear paths to interstellar space. But Jake knew their work was not finished. The Cathari fleet was still out there, and they would not give up easily. Breaking the barrier was just the first step in humanity's fight for freedom. All surviving teams, return to Earth immediately, Colonel Stone ordered. We need to prepare for the next phase of the operation. Jake turned his ship toward home, but he kept watching the space where the barrier had been. Soon the real war would begin. Admiral Ben Clark stood in the war room deep beneath Earth's surface. The walls were covered with screens showing tactical information from across the solar system. The barrier was gone, but thousands of Cathari ships still surrounded Earth, and they were very angry. Status report, Admiral Clark demanded. Sir, we destroyed all 12 quantum anchors, reported Colonel Stone. But we lost 3 ships and their crews in the process. The remaining enhanced teams are returning to Earth. Doctor, Foster looked up from her computer terminal. Ben, the Mars artifacts are responding to our success. They are revealing new information. What kind of information? Admiral Clark asked. Technical specifications for weapons and defenses that make our current technology look primitive. But there is something else. The artifacts are trying to establish a communication link. With who? I think with all enhanced humans simultaneously. It appears the artifacts were designed to create a planet-wide network of enhanced consciousness. Admiral, Clark did not like the sound of that. Are you saying the artifacts want to take control of our enhanced people? No, sir. It is more like they want to help our enhanced people work together more effectively, but the process is voluntary. Each enhanced human can choose whether to participate. Across Earth, thousands of enhanced humans began to feel a strange sensation. It was like hearing a distant voice calling to them. The voice was not speaking in words, but in pure information that their enhanced minds could understand. Jake Morrison felt it as his ship approached Earth. It was not threatening or controlling. Instead, it felt like an invitation to join something larger than himself. Jake, are you feeling this too? Asked Ryan Scott from the co-pilot's seat. He had been enhanced before the mission and could sense the same communication. Yes, Jake replied. It feels like the artifacts want us to link our minds together. Should we do it? Jake thought about the question. Linking minds with thousands of other enhanced humans would be a huge step. They would share thoughts, knowledge, and abilities in ways that had never been possible before. But they were facing an enemy with thousands of ships and weapons beyond Earth's understanding. Individual enhanced humans were powerful, but they needed to work together to have any chance of victory. Yes, Jake decided. We need every advantage we can get. Jake opened his mind to the artifact communication. Immediately, he felt his consciousness expand to include thousands of other enhanced humans across Earth. He could sense their thoughts, their knowledge, and their determination to protect humanity. The experience was overwhelming at first. So many minds connected at once created a flood of information. But gradually, Jake learned to navigate the shared consciousness. He could focus on individual people or access the collective knowledge of the entire network. Dr. Foster was also part of the network now. Through the link, she shared her scientific knowledge with enhanced engineers and physicists across the planet. They began working together on designs for new weapons and ships that combined human ingenuity with artifact technology. This is incredible, Chris Davis said from his workshop. Through the mental link, he could collaborate with dozens of other enhanced engineers simultaneously. We can design and build things in hours that would normally take months. The shared consciousness was not just about technology. Enhanced tacticians like Colonel Stone could coordinate with every enhanced soldier on Earth. They began planning military operations with a level of precision that no normal human command structure could achieve. But the most important discovery came from Nina Bell. As a pilot, she was experimenting with the enhanced ship's capabilities when she made contact with something unexpected. Everyone, you need to hear this, Nina announced through the mental network. I am picking up a signal from outside the solar system. It is not Cathari. The signal was faint but clearly artificial. When the enhanced humans focused their collective consciousness on analyzing it, they realized it was a message from other enhanced beings somewhere in the galaxy. Dr. Foster worked with the network to decode the message. What they found was both amazing and terrifying. There are other species out there who have found builder artifacts, she announced to Admiral Clark and the military leadership. They have undergone the same enhancement process we have, but most of them were destroyed by the Cathari before they could fight back. How many other species? Admiral Clark asked. The signal indicates at least 15 different civilizations have tried to resist the galactic powers. Only 3 survived, and they are in hiding. Through the mental network, the enhanced humans began to understand the true scope of the conflict. The Cathari coalition controlled most of the galaxy through fear and superior technology. Any species that grew too advanced or too independent was eliminated. But the builders had scattered their artifacts across thousands of worlds, hoping that eventually one species would be strong enough to break the cycle of oppression. We are not just fighting for Earth, Colonel Stone realized. We are fighting for every species in the galaxy that wants to be free. The enhanced humans began working with incredible speed and coordination. Factories across Earth started producing new ships and weapons designed with artifact technology. The ships could adapt their hulls to any threat. The weapons could fire different types of energy based on the target. Most importantly, the enhanced humans discovered they could transfer their consciousness into the ship's computer systems. This allowed them to pilot spacecraft with perfect precision and reaction times measured in microseconds. Admiral, we have a problem, announced Captain Lisa Kane from the orbital monitoring station. The Cathari fleet is forming up for a major attack. They have over 5,000 ships in attack formation. Admiral Clark looked at the tactical displays. Earth's enhanced humans had built about 200 new ships in the past week. Even with their advanced technology, they were outnumbered, 25-1. How long until they attack? He asked. Estimated 2 hours until they reach Earth orbit. Admiral Clark turned to Dr. Foster. Amy, is there anything else the artifacts can give us? Dr. Foster consulted with the enhanced network. There is one more system we have not activated. The artifacts call it the Unity Protocol, but using it would be irreversible. What does it do? It would permanently link all enhanced humans into a single consciousness. We would become a collective intelligence capable of controlling every enhanced ship and weapon simultaneously. The room fell silent. Admiral Clark understood what she was suggesting. They would sacrifice their individual identities to become something new, something that might be able to defeat the Cathari. What would happen to the non-enhanced humans? He asked. They would remain unchanged. The enhanced humans would still care about protecting them, but their thought processes would be fundamentally different. Admiral Clark looked around the room at his staff officers. Most of them were normal humans who would never undergo enhancement. They were asking the enhanced humans to give up their humanity to save humanity. It is not your decision to make, Colonel Stone said through the mental link. Every enhanced human gets to choose for themselves. Across Earth, thousands of enhanced humans considered the choice. They could remain individual people and probably lose the war against the Cathari. Or they could merge into a collective consciousness and gain the power to protect everyone they loved. One by one, they began to volunteer for the Unity Protocol. I will do it, said Jake Morrison. For my daughter and for every human who wants to live free. I volunteer, said Nina Bell. The galaxy needs to see that someone can stand against oppression. Within an hour, over 90% of Earth's enhanced humans had volunteered for the Unity Protocol. They would sacrifice their individual existence to become humanity's ultimate weapon. Dr. Foster prepared to activate the Unity Protocol as the Cathari fleet approached Earth. In a few minutes, humanity would either evolve into something greater or be destroyed completely. The choice was made. There was no turning back. The Cathari invasion fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. 5,000 warships arranged themselves in perfect formation, their dark hulls gleaming with energy shields and weapon systems. Admiral Zektar commanded the fleet from his massive flagship. He was confident that this primitive species called humans would be eliminated quickly. The Cathari had destroyed dozens of civilizations that had tried to resist their authority. "Begin the attack," Admiral Zektar ordered. "Show these humans what happens when inferior species defy the galactic order." But as the Cathari fleet advanced toward Earth, something unexpected happened. The planet's defensive systems activated in ways that defied all known military doctrine. Earth's enhanced humans had just completed the Unity Protocol. Thousands of individual minds had merged into a single collective consciousness that could think and react faster than any computer. This unified intelligence could control every enhanced ship and weapon system simultaneously. Squadron leader Rachel Kim was part of this collective now. Her individual personality still existed, but it was connected to thousands of others. When she piloted her fighter craft, she was not alone. The entire collective guided her movements with perfect precision. "Launch all fighters." The collective. Consciousness commanded through every enhanced pilot at once. 200 Earth ships rose from hidden bases across the planet and its moons. But these were not ordinary spacecraft. They had been built using technology from the Mars artifacts and improved by the collective intelligence of thousands of enhanced humans. The ships could change their hull composition in real time to resist different types of weapons. Their engines could manipulate space-time for incredible speed and maneuverability. Most importantly, they were all controlled by a single unified mind that could coordinate their actions perfectly. Admiral Zektar watched the Earth ships approach his fleet. "Only 200 ships? This will be easier than I expected." But when the battle began, the Cathari quickly realized they were facing something beyond their understanding. Rachel Kim's fighter moved through space like it was dancing. Every shot from Cathari weapons missed by inches as her ship twisted and turned, with impossible grace. At the same time, her return fire found its target with deadly accuracy. The collective consciousness could predict enemy movements by analyzing thousands of variables simultaneously. It knew where every Cathari ship would be before the aliens themselves knew. This allowed the Earth fighters to always be in the right position at the right time. "Impossible," Admiral Zektar muttered as he watched his ships being destroyed. "How can they coordinate so perfectly?" Frank Lopez had been a sergeant before enhancement. Now he was part of the collective defending Earth's surface from Cathari landing forces. Enemy dropships were trying to establish ground bases, but they faced resistance unlike anything in their military experience. Enhanced soldiers could share sensory information across vast distances. When one soldier spotted an enemy, every other soldier in the area knew about it instantly. They moved like a single organism with thousands of eyes and hands. The Cathari ground forces found themselves fighting an enemy that seemed to know their every move before they made it. Human soldiers appeared from impossible angles and disappeared before the aliens could respond. "Sir, our ground forces are being eliminated," reported a Cathari officer to Admiral Zektar. "The humans fight like they share a single mind." "Admiral," Zektar studied the tactical displays with growing concern. His fleet was much larger than Earth's defending force, but the humans were winning every engagement. Their ships worked together with perfect coordination while his forces struggled. To adapt to their unusual tactics, "Use the gravity bombs," Admiral Zektar ordered. "Destroy their ships and their planet together." The gravity bombs were the Cathari's most powerful weapons. They could create artificial black holes that would tear apart anything within their range. Admiral Zektar had hoped to capture Earth intact, but now he just wanted to eliminate the human threat. But the collective consciousness had anticipated this move. Through their connection to the Mars artifacts, the enhanced humans had access to defensive technologies that even the Cathari did not understand. "Activate planetary shields," the collective mind commanded. Around Earth, hidden generators created energy fields that could deflect gravity-based weapons. When the Cathari gravity bombs exploded, their destructive force was redirected harmlessly into space. The collective consciousness decided it was time to demonstrate humanity's true capabilities. Through the mental link, every enhanced human on Earth focused their thoughts on a single goal. The Mars artifacts began to glow brighter than ever before. Energy flowed from the artifacts into every enhanced ship and weapon system. The technology that the builders had left behind was finally being used at its full potential. Jake Morrison's ship was one of the first to receive the power boost, his weapon systems charged to levels that should have been impossible. When he fired at a Cathari cruiser, the energy beam punched completely through the enemy ship's shields and hull. "Sir, the human weapons have increased in power by over 300%, reported a Cathari tactical officer. Admiral Zektar watched in disbelief as his massive fleet began to fall apart. Earth's much smaller force was destroying his ships faster than he could count them. But the most shocking moment came when the collective consciousness decided to send a message to the entire galaxy. Every enhanced human on Earth linked their thoughts together and transmitted a single powerful telepathic broadcast that reached across hundreds of light years. The message was simple but clear. This is humanity. We will no longer accept oppression. Any species that wants freedom can join us. Any species that supports tyranny will face the consequences. The broadcast was so powerful that it could be heard by every intelligent mind in a vast region of space. On thousands of worlds, oppressed species suddenly realized they were not alone. Admiral Zektar felt the telepathic message burn through his mind like fire. For the first time in his military career, he felt fear. These humans were not just another primitive species to be conquered. They had become something new and dangerous. "All ships, retreat to jump distance," he ordered. But the collective consciousness was not finished with the Cathari fleet. Earth's ships pursued the fleeing aliens with incredible speed. The enhanced humans had decided to send a message that would be remembered across the galaxy. Rachel Kim's fighter caught up with a Cathari destroyer trying to escape. Instead of simply destroying it, she used her ship's new capabilities to disable its engines and weapons. She wanted prisoners who could spread the word about humanity's power. Across the battlefield, other enhanced pilots were doing the same thing. They captured dozens of Cathari ships and their crews. These prisoners would return to their home. Worlds with stories about the new force that had emerged from the small blue planet. By the end of the battle, over half of the Cathari invasion fleet had been destroyed or captured. The remaining ships fled toward their home systems, carrying news that would shake the foundations of the galactic order. Admiral Zektar's flagship was among the survivors, but barely. His ship limped away from Earth with massive damage and most of his crew dead or wounded. "Send a message to the High Council," he told his communications officer. "Tell them that humanity is no longer a minor threat. They have become something that could challenge our entire civilization." On Earth, the collective consciousness of enhanced humans began planning for the next phase of their war for galactic freedom. They had won this battle, but they knew the Cathari would return with larger fleets and more powerful weapons. But humanity was no longer trapped and helpless. They had broken free from their prison and shown the galaxy that resistance was possible. Soon, other oppressed species would join their cause. The war for galactic freedom had begun. 6 months after humanity's victory over the Cathari invasion fleet, Earth had become the center of something that no one had expected. The telepathic message sent by the collective consciousness had reached dozens of star systems, and the response was overwhelming. Helen Wright stood in the newly constructed embassy complex in orbit around Earth. She had been a diplomat before enhancement, and now she served as humanity's representative to the growing alliance of free species. "Ambassador Wright, the delegation from the Zephyrian Republic has arrived," announced her assistant through the mental link that connected all enhanced humans. Helen walked to the docking bay where she met beings that looked like tall, graceful plants with silver skin. The Zephyrians had been oppressed by the Cathari for over 1,000 years, forced to provide rare minerals for the Galactic Empire. "We greet humanity with hope," said the lead Zephyrian diplomat, speaking through a translation device. "Your victory against the Cathari has inspired our people to believe that freedom is possible." "Welcome to Earth," Helen replied. "Together, we will build a galaxy where every species can determine its own destiny." This scene was repeated dozens of times as representatives from oppressed worlds came to Earth seeking alliance. The Cathari empire was vast, but it was also built on fear. When that fear was broken, subject species began to rebel. Captain Steve Young commanded one of the new exploration ships that Earth was sending to distant star systems. His mission was to find and assist species that wanted to join the Freedom Alliance. "Steve, we are receiving a distress signal from the Altair system," reported his navigator through the mental link. "What kind of distress?" "It appears to be a species called the Crystalline Collective. They are under attack by Cathari forces and requesting assistance." Steve's ship was one of 50 that Earth had built using advanced artifact technology. These ships could travel faster than anything. The Cathari possessed and were armed with weapons that could punch through any known defensive system. "Set course for Altair, maximum speed." The journey took only 3 days with the new, faster-than-light drives. When they arrived at the Altair system, they found a space battle in progress. Cathari warships were bombarding a planet inhabited by beings made of living crystal. "This is Captain Steve Young of the Earth Liberation Fleet," he broadcast on all frequencies. "Cathari forces, withdraw immediately or face the consequences." The Cathari commander responded with weapons fire, but the alien ships had not been upgraded to deal with humanity's new technology. Steve's ship easily destroyed 3 enemy vessels while taking no damage in return. The remaining Cathari ships fled, but not before sending detailed reports about Earth's expanding influence to their high command. On the Cathari homeworld, High Chancellor Vorthak read these reports with growing alarm. Humanity was not just defending Earth anymore. They were actively liberating oppressed species across the galaxy. "How many systems have joined this human alliance?" he asked his intelligence chief. "At least 40 star systems have declared independence from our authority. More are joining every day. The humans are providing them with advanced weapons and defensive technology." High Chancellor Vorthak studied star charts showing the growing rebellion. Red markers indicated systems that had joined the human alliance. The pattern was spreading like a disease across the Galactic Empire. "We cannot allow this to continue," he declared. "Prepare the final fleet. We will destroy Earth and end this rebellion before it spreads further." The final fleet was the largest military force the Cathari had ever assembled. 50,000 warships from across their empire, including their most advanced dreadnoughts and planet-killer weapons. But the Cathari did not know about the final gift that the Mars artifacts had revealed to humanity. Dr. Foster stood in the artifact chamber, beneath Earth's surface. The alien devices were glowing brighter than ever before, responding to the collective consciousness of the enhanced humans. "Amy, what are the artifacts showing you?" asked President Cole. He was one of the few non-enhanced humans who still held a leadership position on Earth. "They are revealing the location of the Builder homeworld," Dr. Foster replied. "The race that left these artifacts is still alive, waiting in a distant galaxy for a species worthy of carrying on their legacy." "How distant?" "About 2 million light-years, far beyond anything the Cathari can reach with their current technology." But the artifacts contained more than just star charts. They held the complete scientific knowledge of a civilization that had mastered the fundamental forces of the universe. The collective consciousness began processing this information and realized that humanity was ready for the next stage of evolution, not just genetic enhancement, but technological transcendence. "We can build ships that exist partially outside normal space-time," the collective announced to Earth's leadership. "Vessels that can travel between galaxies and manipulate matter at the quantum level." Construction began immediately on what would be called the Transcendence Fleet. These ships were beyond anything that had ever existed in the known galaxy. They could phase in and out of reality, travel faster than light without using normal engines, and reshape themselves based on mission requirements. When the Cathari final fleet arrived at Earth 3 months later, they found something that defied all understanding. Earth was surrounded by what appeared to be a cloud of silver mist. But when the Cathari ships tried to scan it, their sensors detected nothing. The mist seemed to exist and not exist at the same time. "Open fire on the planet," ordered Fleet Admiral Klextar, the highest-ranking military officer in the Cathari Empire. 50,000 ships fired their most powerful weapons at Earth. But the energy beams passed harmlessly through the silver mist as if it were not there. Suddenly, ships began materializing out of the mist. But these were not the vessels that Earth had used in previous battles. These new ships looked like they were made of condensed starlight, constantly shifting between solid matter and pure energy. The collective consciousness had learned to exist partially outside normal reality. The enhanced humans could now manipulate the fundamental structure of space and time. "This is humanity's final warning," came a voice that seemed to speak directly into every Cathari mind. "Surrender now and accept freedom for all species, or be removed from existence." Fleet Admiral Klextar refused to believe that any force could threaten his massive fleet. "All ships, continue the attack." But as the Cathari weapons fired, the human ships simply phased out of reality. The energy beams passed through empty space while the Earth vessels reappeared behind the enemy fleet. What happened next was not really a battle. It was a demonstration of power beyond the Cathari's comprehension. Human ships that existed partially outside space-time could attack from directions that had no name. They could disable enemy vessels by reaching into their quantum structure and rearranging their atomic bonds. Within minutes, the entire Cathari final fleet was helpless. 50,000 warships floated in space with their weapons and engines offline, their crews unharmed but completely defeated. "The age of galactic oppression is over," the collective consciousness announced across all frequencies. "Any species, that chooses tyranny over freedom will face the same fate. In the aftermath of this final victory, the galaxy began to reorganize itself. The Cathari Empire collapsed as subject species declared their independence. Trade routes opened between worlds that had been isolated for millennia. Helen Wright established embassies on hundreds of worlds, helping newly free species learn to govern themselves. Captain Steve Young led exploration missions to distant galaxies, searching for other civilizations that needed assistance. But the most important development was the discovery that the Builder homeworld was not empty. The ancient civilization that had left the Mars artifacts was still alive, waiting in the Andromeda galaxy. "They want to meet us," Dr. Foster announced to the collective consciousness. "The Builders say that humanity has proven itself worthy of joining the truly advanced civilizations of the universe." A small fleet of Transcendence ships made the journey to Andromeda, carrying representatives of humanity and their new allies. What they found there was a civilization that had mastered not just technology, but the deeper mysteries of existence itself. The Builders welcomed humanity as equals and began sharing knowledge that would allow them to explore not just other galaxies, but other dimensions of reality. Earth became the center of a new galactic civilization based on freedom and cooperation rather than fear and oppression. The enhanced humans served as guardians and teachers, helping other species achieve their own transcendence. And in the depths of space, the Mars artifacts continued to glow with quiet satisfaction. Their purpose had been fulfilled. The galaxy was free, and a new chapter in the story of intelligent life had begun. The species that had once been trapped in their own solar system now stood as protectors of freedom for the entire universe. The age of humanity had truly begun.